Having pulled off their rather mediocre 53% to 46% victory over John McCain, liberals can't stop boasting about their new baby boy. On Thursday, Obama took his first step. And on Friday, he nominated his chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel. Isn't he adorable? And this morning during bath time, I could have swore he used his first word, entitlement. Yes, we got it on video. You see, that Rahm Emanuel thing proves right there he isn't Jesus. Would the baby Jesus have a play date with Damien? The mainstream media also claimed that Obama was the incarnate spirit of Abraham Lincoln. So that was the end of Obama's honeymoon with the press. He's no longer Jesus, he's just Lincoln. I forget, how many times did Lincoln vote present? Because Obama voted present more than 100 times in the Illinois legislature. The only time he wasn't present was when Jeremiah Wright was giving one of those hate-filled sermons. And did Lincoln blow mostly in high school, or did he wait till college? If the press really thinks Obama is Lincoln, then they ought to start treating him the way they treated George Bush, because that's how the media treated Lincoln. Lincoln's critics compared him to an ape, called him an illiterate baboon. If only Al Sharpton had been around, Lincoln would have known that he was a victim of racism. But our fiercely independent media has produced dozens and dozens of news stories on Obama's amazing likeness to Abraham Lincoln. They're both from Illinois, they're both geniuses, eloquent, great dancers, make their own clothes. Why, back in Illinois, they're still talking about the fist bump Mary Todd and Lincoln shared the night he wrapped up the nomination. It was a great night for Mary Todd. It was the first time she was proud of her country. The one thing every liberal on TV seems to know about Lincoln is that he put rivals on his cabinet. I'm sure you've heard that. I'm not sure reaching out to the Clintons and buying their entire cabinet at fire sale prices constitutes reaching out to rivals. But I guess it has a nicer ring to it than reaching out to backstabbing also-rans. And to be fair, Obama is the one person now most likely to have poison put in his coffee by Hillary, but that's only because Bill stopped eating and drinking around Hillary long ago. Liberal victimology toward the nation's enemy has gotten, or all enemies, has gotten tricky now that Obama is the commander-in-chief. Interestingly, since national security became his problem, Obama's not in such a rush to shut down Guantanamo and pull the troops out of Iraq. Wasn't Guantanamo going to be shut down and the troops home the day after the inauguration? Or am I thinking of a different black president? Now we know that Democrats' hysteria over Guantanamo was a fake, phony fraud, just like their hysteria over his middle name. Only drama queens on college campuses and MSNBC, the official network of drama queens, are all bent out of shape about terrorists at Guantanamo. You remember Guantanamo, the all-inclusive tropical resort we built for the terrorists so they have a nice place to live until a Democrat president comes in. When Newsweek ran a completely false story about a Koran being flushed down the toilet by an interrogator at Guantanamo, practitioners of the religion of peace reacted by engaging in murderous violence in Afghanistan and elsewhere. By contrast, my first reaction was, they've got flushed toilets at Guantanamo? What happened to latrines? Let's just hope they're at least those heinous low-flow toilets that can't flush anything. But because of that false Koran story, we also found out that far from desecrating the Koran, our interrogators are required to wear plastic gloves when handling the Koran so as not to upset the little darlings by putting their infidel paws on it. If only Barnes & Noble treated my last book, Guilty, with that sort of care. These savages at Guantanamo are entitled to 8 hours of sleep a night, 3 square meals a day, and 2 hours of recreation. They can't be woken for interrogations. They can't be put in cold rooms. They can't have their mail opened. I've been treated worse at a Holiday Inn Express. Can we at least bang on the door at 6 a.m. and shout out, "Maid service"? I know that always makes me crack. The average Gitmo detainee has gained 20 pounds in captivity. So this is our brutal POW camp. It sounds like a freshman dorm at some state ag school like Keith Olbermann went to. In other words, ruthless terrorists who would slit your throat if given half a chance are treated better than you are if you're flying to Kansas to see Grandma. Shoes off, missy. Back away from the moisturizer. You with the bottled water, hands up where I can see them. I don't even feed us on planes anymore. To get a good meal, you have to go to Guantanamo. Throughout the Bush administration, the mainstream media assured us that most of the detainees at Guantanamo were harmless little lambs. On the basis of zero actual information, the New York Times said in an editorial, many of them, perhaps the majority, committed minor offenses, if any. If memory serves, the following week, the Times ran an editorial saying, many pigs, perhaps a majority, have the ability to fly. This is, of course, the same New York Times that keeps assuring us their circulation numbers are fine, stockholders have nothing to worry about. But I've noticed that since Obama became president, a flurry of articles in the media about how, a lot of the detainees at Guantanamo are really dangerous. An article in the Los Angeles Times reported that some Obama advisors are looking for Congress to pass legislation so that some of the detainees can be held indefinitely, which, of course, presents the problem of where to house them. I know, how about Guantanamo? For 7 long years, Democrats have been hysterical about Guantanamo. They huff and puff about the poor little darlings without consequence. But now it's Obama's problem, and he's keeping them there. The only bone Obama is throwing to his crazy base is to claim that dunking a terrorist's head in water constitutes torture. But then liberals believe putting a caterpillar in a terrorist cell constitutes torture. When I first heard about the caterpillar torture, I naturally assumed they had those big caterpillar trucks and they were chasing the terrorists. But no, they really were talking about the little furry worm children play with. I guess they've gotten so fat on the food at Guantanamo now they can't even outrun a caterpillar. Contrary to MSNBC hosts who are afraid of bugs, water, and their own shadows, waterboarding was most definitely not a war crime for which the Japanese were prosecuted after World War I or II, as you hear all the time. MSNBC hosts were apparently reading Little Women and not war books and are easily fooled about Japanese war crimes. But waterboarding would have been a good day in a Japanese POW camp. The Japanese version of waterboarding, there were a few of them. One was to fill the prisoner's stomach with water, until the stomach was distended. Take a huge stick and pound on the stomach until the prisoner threw up. Or forcing, I don't think until, probably happened pretty quickly. Or they would stick a stick in the prisoner's nose, break the nose so he couldn't breathe from his nose, pour water into his mouth until he drowned. Or thirdly, to waterboard the prisoners with salt water, causing the prisoner to die. So it was waterboarding plus killing the prisoner. That was the war crime, not waterboarding. Meanwhile, the alleged torture at Guantanamo committed by the Bush administration consists of things like failing to put on plastic gloves before handling a Koran, forgetting to honor a Serbian national holiday,